Have you ever seen a miracle happen in a place built on money, not mercy? Because inside a billion-dollar mansion in Boston, something extraordinary happened, something that even science can't explain. The Carter family had it all. Power. Fortune. Fame. But what they didn't have, was peace. Richard Carter, the head of Carter Industries, once called America's genius billionaire, had built an empire from nothing. But all his brilliance, all his money, couldn't fix what truly mattered. His 3 sons, Ethan, Noah, and Liam, were born unable to walk, unable to speak, unable even to make eye contact. 7 years. 7 birthdays filled with silent candles and empty smiles. Every therapist failed. Every doctor shrugged. Even the Mayo Clinic said the same words that haunted Richard every night: "There's nothing more we can do." Imagine that. Having everything the world desires, but not a single word from your children. The media called it the Carter curse. Some said the family's success came at too high a price. Others said it was karma, punishment for secrets buried too deep. But everything changed the day Mariah Dawson stepped into the mansion. She came from Savannah, Georgia. No references. No background. No fancy education. Just a worn uniform, a calm voice, and a strange scar along her neck. The Carters needed help, and Richard didn't care who she was, as long as she kept the household running. But from the moment she met the triplets, something shifted. Ethan, the oldest, reached for her hand. Noah, the quietest, smiled for the first time in his life. And Liam, he laughed. That night, the housekeeper whispered to the cook, "Those boys don't act that way with anyone else." And she was right. Within days, the children stopped crying at night. Within weeks, they started responding to music, something they'd never done before. And within 3 months, something unbelievable happened. Ethan whispered his first word, "Mama." When Richard heard it, he froze. He turned, looked at Mariah, and tears filled his eyes. It was the same soft tone his late wife Emily used to have. Doctors called it impossible. Therapists said it defied logic. But it was real. Soon, Noah took his first step. Then Liam followed. Within months, all 3 boys were walking and speaking. The story hit national headlines. Miracle Maid heals billionaire triplets. People across America were calling Mariah a saint. But not everyone believed the miracle was pure. Because something didn't add up. Mariah had begun locking herself in one of the mansion's West Wing rooms every night. She told everyone she needed quiet. But the sounds coming from that room weren't quiet at all. Whispers. Soft crying. And sometimes, a lullaby. One night, Richard followed her. He saw her through the crack of the door, holding a framed photograph of his late wife, Emily. She was crying and whispering, "I'm so sorry. I should have told you sooner." The next morning, Richard asked, "Mariah, how do you know my wife's name?" Her eyes filled with panic. "Everyone in the house talks about her, sir." But Richard knew she was lying. Days later, while cleaning, the butler found a hidden envelope in Mariah's quarters. Inside were medical documents, birth records, genetic files, and an old hospital tag labeled Carter Family Unit B. But here's the thing, the Carter triplets were Unit A. There was never supposed to be a Unit B. Richard's hands shook as he read the documents. The papers were dated 9 years before the triplets' birth, signed by Dr. Emily Carter herself. And at the bottom of the page, a note. In case of failure, contact MD. MD, Mariah Dawson. He felt the air leave his chest. That night, he confronted her. "Who are you?" he demanded. Mariah's eyes were red. "You don't want to know." He slammed his fist on the table. "You cured my children, and you're hiding something from me." She whispered, trembling, "I didn't cure them. I just gave them back what was stolen." What does that mean? Richard shouted. But before she could answer, the triplets ran into the room, crying, terrified. They pointed toward the hallway. The lady in white, Ethan whispered. Richard turned, but no one was there. That same night, security cameras went dark for 13 minutes. When they came back online, Mariah was gone. All she left behind was a note. The truth was buried with Emily. Find the real birth certificates. The next morning, Richard tore through every document he could find. But something even stranger emerged. Emily Carter's death certificate was fake. The hospital seal was forged. And the woman buried in her grave wasn't her. If this happened in your town, wouldn't you want to know first? Subscribe before the next twist catches you off guard. Because what Richard discovered next rewrote everything he thought he knew. DNA tests confirmed Mariah Dawson shared a 99.8% maternal link with the triplets. She wasn't their nanny. She was their biological mother. But how? Emily had given birth to them in front of doctors, cameras, and the media. Unless. Richard replayed old footage from the hospital. He noticed something chilling. The nurse assisting Emily that day wore a surgical mask that hid a scar on her neck. The same scar Mariah had. It wasn't coincidence. It was cover-up. The truth hit him like thunder. Emily Carter didn't die in childbirth. She was replaced. And Mariah, somehow, was part of the experiment that created the boys. He reached out to a retired physician who once worked at St. Michael's Hospital in Boston. The man hesitated before speaking. Carter Industries funded a genetic therapy project in 2012. The goal was to engineer perfect heirs. But one subject escaped before termination. She had a child. She vanished. Richard's voice cracked. You're saying my wife? The doctor interrupted, not your wife. The donor. They used her DNA to replicate embryos. You adopted your own experiment. Most people don't know this, but it changes everything. Richard's empire was built on innovation, and now he realized he'd turned his own children into products of it. Do you think Mariah was protecting them, or exposing the truth? Comment, protect, if you believe her, lie, if you don't. 2 weeks later, Richard received a final package, no return address. Inside was a flash drive. On it, home videos of the triplets as infants. They weren't in Boston. They were in a small clinic in Savannah, in Mariah's arms. She was singing the same lullaby the cameras had caught her whispering in the West Wing. And in the background, Emily Carter's voice was heard saying, "Promise me, if I don't make it, you'll take care of them. You'll finish what I started." The screen went black. Then a final message appeared. "Forgive me, Richard. They were always meant to walk, just not in your world." Richard dropped to his knees. Everything he'd built, every lie, every secret, came crashing down. He realized the woman he trusted, the one who healed his sons, had only been fulfilling a promise made by the woman he once loved. To this day, no one knows where Mariah is. Some say she fled the country. Others believe she still watches over the boys from afar. But the mansion hasn't been the same since. The West Wing door remains locked. And every night, the triplets still wake to the sound of that lullaby, echoing from the empty hallway. We've all seen stories of redemption, but this one? It blurs the line between science and soul, between guilt and grace. If you were Richard, would you expose the truth, or protect the lie? Tell us in the comments below. And if you believe miracles can still happen, subscribe, because in this world, not every secret stays buried, and not every miracle is what it seems.